Shalom, shalom. I want to with Florida. Also, salutations to the Sensei Akim, pushing his truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakar Harab Ban Yasharala, coming out of the Lion's Den camp of Yasharala, located here in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, today I'll be coming out with another lesson. Well, I should say tonight, rather. And it's on this article, the New York Post, and it says Zelensky's dire warning: Ukraine losing ground to Russia because Western armed shipments are lagging. So basically, they getting stumped over there because the Lord made Russia the bear, which is enough to defend and to fight and to fend off any threat that comes its way. But without further ado, I'm gonna read this little short article, and I got one scripture, and I'm gonna close it. It says Ukrainian forces are getting pummeled by Russians because of armed shipments from Western allies, Slovakia, have been trickling in too slowly and too late. President Vladimir Zelensky said Sunday. So, and with that happening is because there has been two occasions where Russia has changed its nuclear doctrine, or at least it has been announced two times that Russia is changing its nuclear doctrine so like it to better handle specific threats coming from specific powers that be which is in the earth right now. So that's why you have those weapons trickling in, but they coming in slow because they know if it's a slip up, Russia is gonna go all out, and it'll be found out who really caused the conflict. But let's continue. It says about half of Ukraine's brigades, armies in the east are not properly equipped, allowing Russia to gain ground in the region more than 2.5 years after Putin's forces came into the country, Zelensky said during an interview with CNN, calling the situation very tough. It says, so you lose a lot of people. You lose people because they're not in armed vehicles, he told the network. We need 14 brigades to be ready. Until now, from these packages, we didn't even equip 4. So they didn't even have four vehicles in their brigandine or whatever to even be equipped to even handle, what's going on. But let's continue. It says the U.S. and Ukraine's European allies have vowed to keep supplying Kiev as it continues to fend off the Russian invasion. But Zelensky, I would say the Russian offensive, but that's just my opinion. But Zelensky said the weapons are arriving too slowly. And of course, that's done on purpose because they're trying to incite something while trying to avoid something. And it is called war. WW3, World War III. The Battle of Armageddon, or Armageddon, the Mountain of Troops. Let's continue. It says his plea comes as the U.S. continues to work on a substantial new package to aid Ukraine, White House Secretary Advisor Jake Sullivan said over the weekend. It says Zelensky is expected to meet with President Biden this month, but Russian jets are now striking more than 300 miles into Ukraine, raising concerns of a possible turn in the fighting. When there was really no turn, it's like we'll say offensive force has always had the upper hand. But let's continue. It says, but Russian jets are now striking, more than 300 miles into Ukraine, raising concerns of a possible turn in the fighting, as Zelensky also pushes Biden to allow his troops to use long-range weapons, which will really spark up a direct conflict between Babylon and Russia the bear. Babylon America and Russia the bear. Well, let's continue. It says Russia warned over the weekend that the conflict could escalate dangerously if the U.S. approves the request, perhaps even including Moscow's use of nuclear weapons in the war. And it says a Putin crony said, but more than likely that was probably a true statement. But as you know, as you can see, as a matter of fact, let's go to it. Oh, I passed it. This is Matthew 24, verse 6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." So Yahushua was saying to his disciples, even at the time when he was here on the earth, that we would hear of wars and rumors of war. This was prophesied aforetime, that we would hear of wars and rumors of wars. But the Lord told us to not be troubled, to not be bothered, to be shaken, to not waver. For why? For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So these things have to happen. These wars and rumors of wars, certain things happening in the earth. Continuing verse 7, it says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places." So do we not see that now? Nations are rising against nations, and kingdoms are against kingdoms. As this right here, this article shows that's a kingdom against a kingdom. One kingdom is on the offensive from a defensive stance, and now the other kingdom that was on an offensive stance has to go to a defensive stance to withstand. So the tables have turned. But nonetheless, we see a nation against another nation. Babylon, America, Russia, the bear, and its allies, and America's allies that are completely, well, I won't say completely, but swiftly dwindling. But let's continue. Nations are rising up against nations, and kingdoms are against kingdoms. There have been famines. There are going to be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. These things are signs in the earth, indications of the end time. Indications of the times that are to come and the times that are going to end. We are at the end of a wicked rulership going into a righteous rulership. But things still have to happen. The Lord tells us to not be troubled, to not be shaken, because these things have to happen. These things must come to pass. We have earthquakes and famines and all that stuff. That's been happening. Verse 8, and it says, "All these are the beginning of sorrow." So these are the beginning of sorrows. These are the beginning of times that are going to be gloomy and destitute and desolate and hard. And you're going to have Yahweh Yahushua for you to make it through those. And you're going to have to keep the faith of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua too, to make it all the way through. So you're going to have to be sided with the Lord. It's the only way you're making it through any of this stuff that is prophesied to happen before. And the men of the Lord are in this day and age prophesying the exact same thing. You're going to have to be with the Lord. It's the only way you're going to make it through, by your works and by your faith. But let's continue. Last point. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 22. It says, "A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction." And that's the truth. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. And it will happen. War is in the air. You can see it. You can smell it. It's going to happen. The Lord is getting everything prepared for that Amos, as a matter of fact. And for that Amos chapter 3. Salakia. Joel, Salakia, not Amos. Joel chapter 3. Not Amos, Salakia. But yeah, the Lord is getting everything prepared. And the sound of battle is in the land. And it's going to be of great destruction. And it's going to come here to Babylon, America. It's going to be other places that are destroyed around the world, of course. But it will be nothing compared to how this place is going to get judged by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. So with that, Shalom.